Morning, everybody. Welcome to the pre-market stream via YouTube that we do every single Wednesday. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a breakdown of what's going to happen today. Basically, once I'm done speaking here, and by the way, this is Spartan speaking, by the way, Beth's going to come on, give you a breakdown of the macro environment, any news events that are happening over the course of today or over the course of last evening that matter to be looking at this morning and today. Once that's done, she'll be going through any of the bigger picture items, commodities, etc., that make sense to be looking at as well. After that, I'll come back on. We'll go through the names that are gapping up, gapping down. We'll talk about those individual names in regards to the news causing those gaps. We'll build an action plan in regards to the technicals on the chart. And then we'll also go through the SPY, the FANG, the IWM, the QQQ, and the VIX. After that, I'll pass over to Selpeach while I type up that pre-market action plan, and he'll go over the macro environment. And then we'll basically be ready to go. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead, pass it over to Beth, and I will talk to you guys shortly. Beth, it's all yours.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my friends. Welcome. Pre-market here, Spartan Trading on a Wednesday morning, live YouTube stream. You know the drill. There was a theme that's evolved yesterday, and we'll go into a little bit depth on that. And, for me, and we'll look at the indices as well. The heat map is very dangerous in terms of the continuation of the overall indices on the upside. But what we do here is more a deep dive in terms of the technicals on individual tickers. And that clearly is the way you want to be playing this market. Okay, what happened overnight? No change. This is China. Change. This was a little bit less than expected. Right? And here you have foreign direct investment year over year. Okay, got to keep an eye on that. Once again, the Chinese central bank as well as Xi are starting to blink in terms of what they've been doing. And I'm sure that these foreign direct investment numbers are not what they want to see. All right, let's take a peek at what's going on in Germany in terms of PPI. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, you don't hear transitory anymore, do you? Well, maybe a little bit. Okay, out of the UK, they want to have the ability to reinstate mask wearing and stuff like that. That's notable. We got to keep an eye on that because the UK tends to be the litmus test of what's going on. They tend to lead the world with the COVID. We also know that a lot of Chinese provinces are having issues. So we're just cycling through, and this is how it evolves into an endemic versus a pandemic, right? EA core inflation, as expected, so no surprises there. The auction, interesting, right? There was a build yesterday, API crude build. It was a little bit higher than expected, right? Notable. We have our crude numbers coming out as well. Some mortgage rate. So it's pretty light. We have more Fed heads talking, Evans and Quarles. So a very light day today in terms of macro event. We'll talk about the earnings. The sky has not been falling. And I think a lot of analysts were very, very negative going into this earnings cycle, but companies continue to knock it out of the park. Right? Feeling bend its debt rules again. This is the problem with this quantitative easing, global quantitative easing. It's, excuse the expression, a shit show. I mean, the market doesn't expect any of these central banks to get it right. You can see here, there are issues, debt issues that need assistance. Right? Okay, let's talk. It would now seem to be that Biden is signaling 1.7 to 1.9 trillion. So he wants to get it done, and he's willing to deal with the moderate Democrats to get it done. So we'll see how it plays out, right? Xi faces resistance to property tax plan. China weighs coal market intervention. The reality is that in a commodity super cycle, right, you can put your thumb on the scale, but it doesn't work long-term, only short-term. There is no question about this in terms of supply and demand. It's just not, there was no inventory. The inventory had been whittled down. And now that we have the supply chain disruption, it is really complex how this plays out. Okay. GE, Universal Medical. So the reality is, well, Southwest came and said they're not going to implement it. So it's company by company, state by state. The federal government is doing what the federal government's going to do. There's going to be lawsuits. We'll see what happens now that it's no longer, that it's actually an official FDA treatment. It's like the flu shot. So I don't know. We'll see. Okay, let's take a peek here. Inflation is about to get much worse. Call it the hangover effect. Yeah, okie dokie, 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 dokie. All right. You gotta love it. But for those of you who are not historians or understand the past, who are young bucks and buckettes, the past dictates the present. It actually is an anthropological statement. But the first generation chooses to remember, the second generation chooses to forget, then the third generation chooses to remember. So it's a loop that we're in. Just saying. Okay, let's talk. This is a poll that came out from Reuters, all right? And there's no question about it, all right? We are now seeing that instead of January 2023, we're starting to see going out to May, June, the market is pricing in a rate hike. Yeah, so you can see here. Right? Whether this happens or it doesn't happen, I have no idea. All I'm telling you is that the reason why we're up, it's because the market is pricing in a rate hike for June of next year. 55%, right? So that means 45%. See a rate hike, right? So just saying. All right, let's take a look at our earnings. Okay, only one guidance low, and that was ASML. Everybody's up. And Bib, Verizon, Abbott, knee was the same. So the sky did not fall so far. Things are looking pretty good. And we discussed the reality that a lot of these analysts got buried up thinking, okay, there's no way these companies can continue to do what they're doing. And you know what? Companies are finding a way to make money. And, you know, the efficiency is really remarkable. And so let's take a look at our peepettes, right? I don't have anything that's 16 at 70% today, right? So Sage, there was put buying all day yesterday on Sage. Apple got an upgrade from Wedbush. That's no. Still looking for my 150 calls. Taking profit along the way though. Right? That's how we do it here. And that's actually allowing Apple to stay up. iBroker, and then you see Macy's had a sell, etc. All right, let's talk. All right, this is a tailwind for the market, as you can see, or a nasty ass red flag. This is telling us, and we know this to be true, that the market is not as bulled up, right, as the indices are showing in terms of as it goes on. In fact, it's really a dramatic divergence going on right now. Don't know how this is going to play out. Well, you know, I'm bullish, so I mean, like, here's an intermediate term starting to bounce here. So we shall see on that one. And let's look at the short-term optimism right here. You can see. So the short term, they're all in, but in the terms of intermediate term, they're not. Right? Here's the Mclellan Oscillator. This is, you know, pretty interesting too. But this actually tends to peak a little bit before a rollover. Right? So if you look at it here, right? So this can basically peak. This is May, right? 31st. And then the peak didn't happen until June. So this can go on a couple more weeks. This is we're seeing a breadth thrust. This should not be a surprise to anybody. It is unusual to see a big breadth thrust near the high. Crazy, right? What does it mean? Nothing. Nothing. All right, let's see what this means. Going back to 1929, It's a little bit more positive, 2 months out, 80%. A little bit of a tailwind, right? See how that plays out, right? And here's the same thing, median, you can see that, right? All right, let's take a look. All right, we're getting more rows in red. This is like 10-day, the 50-day and the 200. I mean, you can see energy has to, well, it doesn't have to, it will be pulling back, right? Financials will be pulling back. Industrials, I mean, you look at the sectors here, okay, we saw this, Penn was #1 yesterday. So XLY was the only one that was negative. That was Tesla and Amazon, right? This is scary as you know what. I haven't seen this in a long time. Market has to come in. I don't know when. It could be in 2-3 days. It could be 5 days. I don't know. But this is really not a good look. That's all I can tell you. Not a good look. So what have I been doing because of this? I've been buying a little bit more, nibbling a little bit more on my hedges out to November, my leveraged inverse ETFs, because this is like scary. Not scary, but you know, the reality also is it won't take much of a pullback to get these to reset. When you're this extreme, it doesn't take a lot, which is a positive, right? All right, fund flows. Let's take a peek out of the cubes. And you got it into the SPY. So 2 days ago was the only time that we saw the Qs get money flows. They're back to doing the SPY again against the Qs. All right. It was not your imagination yesterday. I was pretty articulate about this. Something was going on with the meme stocks. This is the first time where we've seen some of these stock volume above the average, as well as unusual options. All right, so FSLY kept saying, talking about it. There was double the volume on the equity side, and there was an increase on the unusual option side. Tilray, the same thing, print more than 2 times, same narrative. Now, AMC did not get that, but it did have it on the option side. Other thing was BlackBerry, notable in the sense that it was more on the equity side as opposed to the option side. So we did see money flows into meme stocks that we have not seen in quite a while, right? But more so on the equity side. Let's take a peek what's being hyped. Netflix, Bobalicious by BNTX, GME, JD, so China. So that's another thing that we saw yesterday. All right, let's take a peek at what we did see. All right, so BlackBerry. We haven't seen this in God knows how long, right? Tilray, these are memes. We haven't seen this in God knows how long, right? Let's take a look at Bobalicious. 100% call buying. Others who went with leaps, huh? Notable. Right. Let's take a look at FSLY. Notable. I don't think AMC had a lot. Yeah, it didn't. There wasn't much that went through. So, I mean, you're seeing the narrative right now. And we saw also a lot on the retail printing side as well. Right? Interesting for those of you who like to follow seasonality, Apple as well as Facebook, their seasonality strength is about to end. Notable. Will I be putting some Apple puts on? You know what we're probably going to be doing? It's a different narrative right now because it's a valuation versus, well, they have earnings reporting next week. So we're going to do a deep dive. You know, we're going to look at Netflix. I'll post whatever I decide to do on Apple. I might just buy XLK puts. Okay. Seasonality, SPX, daily. Oh my goodness gracious. Sloppy choppy, all kinds of stuff. 19th to the 21st, potential timing top. NDX, October 19th to the 21st. Okay, we're in the window. My planetary guy, he's saying the same thing. So, and we're gonna take a peek at what it's gonna look like as well. Okay, bonds. Yields are down and the short end a little bit up, right? And then you can see yields are down across the board. Okay. Notable, right? 5-year breakout, risk reward is that we're in a new quadrant, and this is basically going to be the lower end right here. So if you think about it on the measured move, I'll just copy this in. Why isn't this? I don't know. Anyways, this I think is the new box right here. I think we have flagged. Now we're in a new box. That's what I think. Okay, we're at the mid. You can see that right now. Right. 5 against the 30. Right, we're at the upper quadrant here in terms of the yield curve flattening. Now it's breaking back down. Notable. Right. Here's a 10-year. I just don't think we have a lot more. It did get rebuffed at the 50 EMA on the monthly. When you're looking at these sort of things, you got to look at the larger picture, weekly, monthly charts. So here's the 1030, right? It actually got inside, almost touched this fib right here, notable, right? This is the new quadrant. I mean, I think you can see it right away. So this is the new quadrant that we're in right now. This one right here. This is what I think right now. I think that's where we're at. And we're, as you see, our risk reward at the lower end of the quadrant. TLT, interesting, right? It did get bounced off of the 50 EMA on the monthly, notable. Still consolidative, still holding this uptrend line. Okay, going back to March 2021. German rates, double top, coming back in. German against US, I'll get into the lower end of the quadrant here. You can see that. I don't see us breaking that quadrant at all. And here's the Chinese. They were raising rates. Now they're lowering rates. Very fascinating right now. Commodities. We're going to do a quick dive right now. Gold. I like it. I think we've got a natural. I do have some USO puts on. I did get out of the natural gas. KOLD. I don't know. I might write some more puts again. We'll see. So you see here, let's quickly go through this because it's so important in terms of money flows. Anyways, dollar, double top, still hasn't broken out right now. Chinese new yuan, right? They were weakening it, now they're strengthening it. This is really a fascinating situation going on right now. I don't think this double bottom, gets taken out, but this is what they would want to do in terms of capital flows, right? They want to keep their currency strong. So that foreign direct investments continues to come in. Here's a CRB breaking out. Here's natural gas breaking down. I still think we get down here in terms of the reversion to the mean, but I know risk reward's getting a little bit dicey. That's why I exited my KOLD put rights, right? USO, UNG, USO starting to outperform. Long USO, short UNG is the trade right now. Here's UNG. It did break below this on a weekly. Let's see what happens at the end of the week, but I think we revert back to the mean 1576 on that one. Here's crude, double top. Silver, really interesting. Okay, let's see what happens here. Starting to reclaim some pivots, notable. And we do want silver to outperform, so I'm out of sequence here. OIH, risk reward, we're in the upper quadrant, be careful with that, right? And then you can see here, here's gold. Gold still holding consolidation flag. Here's gold, Japanese yen. This is a very heavily traded. Gold is starting to climb against the yen, notable. Here's gold, copper, bouncing. So we're seeing a lot of these metals in housing starting to soften against gold. But here you can see right here, this is lumber bounce. I really think, to be honest with you, it looks like it's going to be this right now, as opposed to this one. Okay, that's what it's kind of feeling like with me. I don't know. I think it's going to take a lot for it to basically break this pivot high. So be aware of that. Here's copper, still within the quadrant, and right now in the upper quadrant of it. Okay, you can see right here. I don't think we break out. Aluminum, double top. Be aware of that. I did start to buy some Alcoa, just so you know, on the steel side. And you can see here, we are consolidating. But what I really like about this is that it's consolidating in this level right here. If we do break this uptrend line that goes back to February of this year, I probably will do something as a hedge. Okay. Here's nickel, same thing. It's within a quadrant, but it actually took out last month's high, which is really positive, right? Here's lithium batteries are kicking ass. Here's fan, that's wind, it's trying to reclaim, trying to break out. Tin, this is solar, trying to break out as well. We'll see how that plays out. Here's PIC. This is metals and mining. Keep an eye on this one. I will probably enter it if we break this downtrend line. All right, so then let's take a peek now. Cryptos will do it quickly. Ethereum trying to break out, but it's in the upper quadrant. I gave you the narrative on BITO that, you know, we have to start looking at now against Bitcoin, right? Here's Bitcoin against Ethereum on a risk reward. It's in the upper quadrant. Be careful. Bitcoin did take out last week's high, has not taken out the all-time high. We'll see. This is just fraught with danger. All right, here we go. Bitcoin against BITO. Oh, don't forget the BITO is a futures contract, right? Just be aware of that. What can I say? I think what's going to happen is, I think there's going to be a nasty little pullback. Then it's going to start. I would not be buying it right now because it was bought into. They basically had Bitcoin. They front ran it, right? They bought it before it came out. So what's going to probably happen on the hourlies, we're going to start breaking it down. That's what I think is going to happen. Bitcoin against gold hasn't taken this out. Notable. Staying there, this is really fascinating. Okay, market's down a little bit, sloppy choppy all over the place, up, down, and all around. China doing its thing. VXN still hasn't broken on the daily. It's trying. We need to see this break down for the next leg up in the market. As you can see here, FANG did what it needed to do, take out all-time highs, range potentially up to here. Right? So we could see a massive tailwind, 46% in the coming months. See. Qs. All right, let's talk. Upper quadrant. But, you know what I'm going to say here. It's lower volume. This is really not good. This is a daily. And it's across the board. All of these indices are in the upper quadrant with low volume. Be careful. SPY, upper quadrant. All right. With low volume. You know what I'm going to say next, right? IWM. This is actually not as notable, but it's been sideways consolidating for the whole year, which is really fascinating, right? I have no idea how this breaks. I'm just saying. My inclination is it goes to the upside, but hey, never know with this market. All right, small cap, large cap. We've been talking about this. Where large cap became small cap, the mega tech companies that were sold off, they now are value trade. Oh my goodness gracious, versus growth. But we're in a quadrant. We're just consolidating. Same thing with SPY, growth versus value. It did reclaim, right, the fib, and it did reclaim this pivot right here. Let's see if it can pop the top. That's what has to happen. Netflix, let's do it. You know what's going to happen here. This is really fascinating. The reason why it's fascinating is because it's been consolidating for so many months, and it just broke out. So what has to happen now? I mean, we got to take it one step at a time, right? But the pivot for me right now is right here. Okay, and that's a previous all-time high. So that's 593. What's that? 593.29, and we're well above that. So you know the drill. Netflix against Roku. What is this telling us? You want to be long Roku and you want to be short Netflix. Netflix against Apple. Same thing. Triple top into this extension, starting to come down. Netflix against Disney. Not as overt. It did try to gap fill here. It partially gap filled on this one. Totally different look, right, than Apple or Roku. So this is kind of a push. And I think that Netflix can, in actuality, be the only thing strong against Disney because it's just not easy. Amazon, Netflix. Amazon double bottom here. Really trying to claim this. I love it, right? Facebook against Netflix. Facebook held this monthly extension going back to April 2020. What is it saying? You want to be long Facebook? You want to please short Netflix unless this breaks, and then that's the end of that story, right? So Netflix short against a lot of things. My time is up. Welcome to those of you joining us pre-market here. Are you ready, sir?
Give me 1 minute here, Beth, please.
Okie dokie. All right, let's talk about a new ETF, one that we haven't actually tracked. And this is, I was looking to say, okay, what has Netflix in it? All right, so this is fascinating. This is 51% technology and 38.8% consumer cyclicals. Netflix, Spotify, Walt Disney, Roku. So this is a really nice blend, right? So let's take a peek at this ETF. SUBC hasn't been around a long time. This is year, so we'll keep an eye on this one. All right, this is one that I want to look at. What's notable about it, and I'm sure you can see this, is that this is right here. Right? So this is the quadrant that it's in right now. Right? And it's at the mid. Well, it'll be interesting, right? We'll see how this plays out. All right, so what does that mean? Netflix against SUBC, you got it. Multi-weeks uptrend line, basically going back to July, and it's basically yanked. So what does it say? You can be long these other things, SUBC and short Netflix, right? So you can be long Spotify, Disney, Roku, and then short Netflix. You know, super cool, right? All right. Let's take a peek at the XRT. This is something that I want to, the Dow transports and the XRT. These are things that have been consolidating, still holding the quadrant though. All right. This has been leading us in this sideways consolidation. This has been going on for quite some time. So this has been going on since April. All right. So see how this plays out. Let's take a look at the transports. Wow, what a stick sage. Double bottom now getting up here. It's getting a little bit dicey up here. But the reality is I have a strangle on in FedEx and I have UPS calls on, and I'm in Union Pacific Rail, right? So in my head, a lot of these that were taken to the woodshed. So if you look at FedEx, right? They are the ones that become a value trade. Okay. Double bottom here on the monthly, notable. I have a very small hedge, November puts on, just in case this thing does break, right? But let's see if it starts to reclaim and reclaim. I like it, I guess is what I'm saying, right? And here we can look at UPS as well. And you can see this as well. Okay, let's see if we can break this down trend line and start to go higher. All right, let's look at some of the overseas stuff. All right, here's the EFA IWM. It was breaking down. Now it's basically back reclaiming this pivot. This is a negative for the market. The only way that this is going to happen is if the market continues to sell off. Okay, notable. Here's FES. This is STOXX50. Got rebuffed here at the 50% fib. Ouch. Reversion to the mean needs to basically reclaim this pivot. This is a 21 on the Bollinger. Let's see if it can. Here's the Nikkei consolidated. Here's the EEM. Yesterday, EEM call sweeps are coming in. And that basically is a play on Baba, Tencent, etc. KWeb, it still continues. It has to basically get through a lot of this congestion. You can see right here. Okay. Bobalicious, well, let's look at Asia's. It's holding up fine. China across the board is holding up fine. FXI, it's got a lot of resistance here, but it should be able to break higher. BABA, all right, let's talk. BABA pre-market, right, is above this fib. And it's right at the reversion to the mean. So this is where you would want to be taking profits. In my head, I had us going to 180s. I mean, we may on the extension go to 185, but this is getting a little bit dicey up here. So I'm going to take off some of my BABA calls. Okay. BABA CQQQ. BABA once again continues to gain. It's right here now. So it has broken through this fib. So next leg up is basically up here. And that's 257 on this spread. So this is bullish for BABA. QQQs against the CQQQ. This is really interesting. The QQQs are weakening, which would make sense against the CQQQ. So what does this mean? Rotation out into the Chinese names. Short term, this is monthly. Right? Let's take a look at Baidu. Nice little push on it. Right? It is actually through these EMAs now trying to continue higher. I'm thinking, I don't know. There's a lot of resistance here. Okay, so let's look at this. Right? So let's say this is the quadrant right here. Right? All right. Let's see if you can get into it. Beautiful W. We talk about that all the time. I don't know. We'll see. Let's look at the CQQQ in and of itself. We got a triple bottom here, right? Let's see if we can break this monthly downtrend line. Here's XLF. I don't know why it's here, but anyways, let's go through it. All-time high break continuation. Okay. And here, last but not least, is the DAX. You know, it's really fascinating to see how this is playing out right now. Let's take a look at the EFA just in and of itself, as opposed to on the spread. And you can see it's trying mightily. So there's actually room on the upside here. I don't think we're going to break out until probably end of October. Well, the thing is that seasonality-wise, November, beginning of November to mid-November is negative. Let's take a peek at that, what that looks like, just for shits and giggles here. Let's do this. Okay, so let's take a look. As you can see here, the end of the month is incredibly strong. We're now into the sloppy, choppy red. Okay, so here you go. Tailwind, really bullish. There are some pockets of red, but for the most part, this
All right, Beth, I'm ready to pop on.
Hi, my friends.
All righty, guys. What's going on, guys? Let's pop up the screen share here. Here we go. So, morning, everybody. If you guys are new to chat, make sure to click the Discord link that's emailed to you. If you don't see it, it's most likely in your junk mail box, but it's certainly there because it is sent out automatically. When you guys do come into Discord, make sure to click on the new to chat information section and give that whole section a read. I'm not going to be going through it until the end because we are doing the pre-market stream today on YouTube. So let's take a look at what we got going on today, guys. A couple different things: Netflix, BABA, NVAX, EAT, VALN, and LMDX. Netflix earnings beat EPS and rev in line year-over-year growth 16.3%. Q4 EPS guidance lower, rev slight raise, stocks gapping down. BABA UBS upgraded China stocks to overweight, said that the tighter economic regulations priced in, and then you got continuation with the China names anyways overnight. NVAX, Nvax reportedly facing concerning manufacturing issues amid the delay in the authorization. Reports suggest the company is facing issues with the purity of the vaccine candidate. They came back and said everything's all good, but that was the news article that came out last night. EAT earnings miss, EPS and rev in line year-over-year growth 79.1%. Growth margin issues from the labor market on EAT, even though they actually did have quite nice earnings. That's what's concerning right now, and that's why they've dropped off. VALN gapping up in continuation. Previously, the company recently, I should say, reported that VLA 2001 met both co-primary endpoints in their phase 3 pivotal trial, COVE Compare, and then LMDX approval for their COVID-19 antigen test in India, which obviously is a massive market. So they're gapping up nicely there. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint. Intraday, first two we're looking at today, guys, Netflix and BABA. Let's have a look. Netflix really didn't move much, obviously, right? Premium burning type of name. So Netflix, let's take a look. I think I pretty much used the levels I had up yesterday. Daily chart stayed within the range, looks like. Indeed, it did. Yeah, stayed within the range. EMA support held on the daily. You guys probably can't see it, but there you go. See the flag range there it held. Let's take a look at this thing intraday. I'm going to use the same pivot because I can, as before. All right, we might as well relabel some of this stuff a little bit closer so it's cleaner. Okay, cool. All right, so pivot to the, actually we'll do this level. Pivot to the upside today, 626.54. This level is able to hold. We got room towards the 632.48 to 640.18 on the upside. Unable to hold, look for a pullback to 620.68 to 615.25 on the downside. Overall on the Netflix, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a reclaim of this level and a continuation push to the upside if that pivot point can hold. So going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a reclaim, like I said. I think that it's going to stay within the range, hold EMA support, and be able to push back up. But again, we'll see what happens. Let's take a look at BABA. So BABA, obviously quite a bullish looking chart as of late. I think we broke through that range resistance level, didn't we not? Yes, we did. Looks like my 175 calls will be nicely in the money. All right, let's take a look at where this thing's got room to today. Gotta go back in time a little bit here. All right, let's take a look at this thing and see what we got. I guess we'll get last day's low as well, might as well. All right. Pivot to the upside today, 181.17 levels able to hold. You got room towards 184.49. Not gonna be able to see it, but it's the 186.98 level. Over the next on the upside. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback on BABA towards 177.92 to 175.54 on the downside. Now, BABA is going to be quite extended to the upside today on that daily chart. But I do think we're going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation grind higher. So looking for a continued move to the upside. We'll see how much we get. I'll be watching to see if that uptrend breaks, obviously, and it starts to come in. But I think this morning we can get a continued push out the gate. So going to be leaning bullish neutral for now. That's Netflix. That is BABA. Let's take a look at the next two names. So I'm just going to screenshot these. All right, next two. We got NVAX. Wait, one. Yeah, NVAX and EAT. I'm missing a name here. What's that, guys? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, NVAX and EAT. Yes, that's correct. Okay, cool. So NVAX obviously got hit overnight on that news report, basically all the way back down to the bottom end of the range. We're talking like around 118s. Big supports down here. Uptrend broke on the daily. Of course, we can see that. Big break. Okay. My levels should be good. Yes, yes, yes. All right, let's take a look at the thing intraday here. $122.07 pivot, levels able to hold, room towards 130.83 to 137.68. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards the 114.42 to 108.27 on the downside. Overall on NVAX, going to be leading on the bullish neutral side today, but I'll be looking for basing to occur. So I'll be looking for, any pole basing. It's got to be flat, guys, and then start to curl back to the upside, reclaim short-term EMA support for a bounce to happen. Quite a big move, right? You don't want to get in front of that. It may not be done. So you need that confirmation of basing before actually getting involved. All right, let's take a look at EAT, in my opinion. EAT, let's see here. So obviously pulling back a little bit today. All right, let's go back a little bit more. All right, pivot to the upside today, guys, or downside, I should say. It's going to be this 42.63 spot. This level is able to hold. You got room towards 44.70 to the 47.04. Unable to hold, 40.86 will be tested. That level breaks. You got room lower into the 39.23. Overall on EAT, going to be leaning bearish, looking for a continuation move to the downside. So looking for a pop topping, take the stock short. I don't think that margin pressure is going to, away anytime quick. They did have great year-over-year growth, I can tell you that, but that's definitely the main concern for these guys. So we'll see what happens going forward. And I think that's going to be in the back of everyone's mind when playing this name. So that's NVAX, that is EAT. Let's take a look at the next two names, which are VALN, LMDX. This is a sporadic looking name, isn't it? Jeez Louise. It's a hard one to chart. I need to look at this thing on the hourly as well. Okay, that's good. $46.90, okay. So pivot to the upside today on this thing. 40.92 levels able to hold. 44.35, then 46.90 will be tested. Unable to hold 39.12 to the 36.23 on the downside. Overall on this name, going to be leaning bullish, looking for a continuation push to the upside today if that pivot point can't hold. Looks like a thinner name. So that's the case, which it is. Way smaller size. Tiny. Or, don't touch it. but it is a bullish looking chart right now. LMNDX, let's take a look at this. Well, stock's gapping up. It's a reverse split name. Let's see. Nope. Let's see what these fibs look like. I bet you they hit it up pretty good. Yep. Classic case. All right, pivot to the upside today, 1161, levels able to hold, 1292, 1436 will be tested, unable to hold 988 to the 852 on the downside. Overall on LMDX, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a continuation push higher if that pivot point can hold. So that's the individual names, guys. Let's take a look at SPY and FANG. So SPY, let's take a look at that. As we do, we're going to do this. Link this up on the daily. All right, so SPY, guys, obviously extended to on the daily to the upside, but we've been extended for multiple days and it hasn't even budged back to the downside. In fact, the extensions the last couple of days are obviously filled now. We're extended from yesterday now on the open today. We could, and I'm going to be probably leaning bullish neutral still just because we've had multiple days of extension and holding up. I think that's extremely bullish. So we could have a more of a consolidative day, or we could even grind higher. I'm thinking that all-time highs is coming. That's what I'm thinking at this point. We're not that far off. 451 pivot level holds, 451.85 to 453.08 will be tested. Unable to hold 449.46 to 448.51 on the downside. Like I said, getting leaning bullish neutral if we can hold above that pivot point today. All going to be about the pivot for me on the market. One thing I've noticed, guys, is because of this price action, I haven't been hedging much on using the SPY puts or anything like that, just because it seems to be holding all of the price action. I only like to hedge too when I start to see things unwind on like the hourly chart for the short term, and we haven't seen that. So Apple was extended yesterday. It's not, and it won't be today on the open. Pivot is going to be 149.05. Levels able to hold. You got room towards 150.04 to 150, 112 on the upside. Unable to hold. Room towards 150 or 148.10. Sorry. And then if that level breaks, 146.82 will be tested on the downside. Overall on Apple leaning bullish, neutral as well, looking for a continuation push higher. Daily chart still looks fine for continuation. And I think it wants to push into that head and shoulders on the upside, which is actually above that 151 level. It's around 151.80. That's what I'm thinking short term before earnings. So nice chart. All right, let's take a look at Amazon, which also has been quite impressive as of late. So Amazon, a little bit extended to the upside on the daily, but did a really good job of holding up. Inverted head and shoulders, bouncing back above all EMA support, still has room for continuation. I think even though extended like the market, we can see continuation. 34,55 pivot level holds, 34.84 will be tested, unable to hold 34.32 to 39.95 on the downside. Overall, going to be leaning on the bullish side today of Amazon. Netflix we talked about already. Take a look at Facebook, which I do love. And if you guys have obviously been in the room, we've been in Facebook for like 3-4 days now. I still do like the chart. It is a little extended to the upside today. It has me a little concerned, but obviously the market's kind of brushing all this off. We could see some continuation. Pivot upside is going to be 342.85. Level holds, boom towards 346.90. Unable to hold 338.34 to 333.93. Going to be leaning bullish, neutral on Netflix or Facebook, looking for a continuation push higher. I do think it can hold the pivot. If we get above it, we should grind to the upside. Nice bullish consolidative day yesterday on the hourly. Very constructive, even though it was, like I said, extended to the upside. So good looking chart. Let's take a look at Google. So Google continues to grind higher. Pivot upside is going to be 28.64 level holds. 28.74 to 28.91 will be tested. Unable to hold, look for a pullback to 28.70. Sorry, 28.47. On the downside, leaning bullish on Google. Bullish neutral, that is. Looking for a continuation grind higher. Chart also looks pretty good. So we do like that. All right. And last but not least, guys, let's take a look at the VIX, the Q, and the IWM. QQQ, is that it? Oh, and just an FYI, guys, we're going to be shutting the stream off right before I do the recap. So if you wanted to rewatch this and understand or get a recap, then just simply watch the rewind on YouTube and watch this over again. You just have to shut it down a little bit earlier today. That's all, I believe, at least. VIX pivot downside is going to be the 1552. Levels able to hold, room towards 1660. Unable to hold, room lower towards 1464. And the VIX, I think, has room to continue to the downside to test the recent range lows, which is around that 1410 area in the short term. So I think that's the magnet, and I think we will see continuation into it. So that's VIX. Let's take a look at the QQQ. Which, again, you know, extended on the upside, but held up. Bullish consolidative on the hourly. 375.23 pivot level holds, room towards 377.11. Unable to hold, 373.80 will be tested on the downside. Overall on the Qs, leading bullish, looking for a continuation push higher today. Watch that pivot. That's going to dictate price action. IWM, last but not least. Now, I think IWM has definitely been lagging behind the entire market because it has been. That being said, you got a little bit of a flag forming on the hourly. Pivot upside today is 226.20. Level is able to hold 227.86 to 229.38. Unable to hold 224.36 to the 222.90 will be tested on the downside. And overall on IWM, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side as well, but we got to reclaim that pivot and break the flag to the upside in the short term. That's going to be the key. So keep an eye on that level. So that is the SPY. That is the FANG. Those are the individual names that we are looking at today, guys. Like I said, probably won't be doing that recap at the end on the YouTube stream. So If you guys are watching the YouTube stream, you can simply just go back and rewatch everything that we talked about this morning for a recap yourself. Real quick, here are the names that we're looking at as well. And if you have any questions, you go to spartantrading.com. Thanks for watching, guys. Alrighty, South Beach, if you're ready, it's all yours. Give it a second, guys. I'm just a little bit early, 20 seconds. Alrighty, South Beach, if you're ready.
Okay, guys, hi. Sorry. I was listening to Jones.
Yeah, no worries. I was a little bit early there.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so let's take it from the top. Bonds. So the 10 years unchanged, 162. It was up a bunch yesterday, and it's flirting with highs from what? Late May, early June of 170. All right, and the curve pretty flat, guys, but less flat than yesterday. So that's the US bond market. In London, they're down a bunch, 0.047. They're having a COVID scare over there, and there's a new variant that we have to keep our eye on. Okay, this could be important. Got to watch out, see what's what with that. But their rates are down, about 0.05, which is a lot, but they're still up a bunch from where they were. But that new variant is definitely important, definitely deserves our focus. Okay, Germany rates are down a little bit. The 10 years minus 0.13 after being down 0.50. You get the drift. Okay, so Europe rates are a little lower. Here, they're pretty flattish. 2+% inflation, a long bond at 160, and a lot of liquidity around. So the equity market is the place to be at the moment. Okay, let's look at commodities. Okay, we have a downtick in oil. We haven't seen that in a while, $1. So that's 1%. And I think these energy stocks, they've had a good run, and people are a little skittish. So, on the first sign of weakness, people are going to plow into them. On the short side, whether that works or not, we'll see. But like I said, contra trend trading, you can't, you got to be careful. Okay, your duration is shorter and your stops are tighter. Okay, so that's oil. And then if you look at gold, that's up a little bit. Let's see, agricultural commodities are still very strong. Okay, lumber 707, cotton. If you look at any one of these charts, with the exception of maybe like corn and stuff like that, these agricultural commodities have had a great run. Let's look at the currencies. The dollar's down against North America, down against the yen. Flattish against the Chinese currency. The dollar has been in the crosshairs of currency traders, and it's pretty weak. Okay, with the exception of against the euro. All right, crypto up again, 0.19 on Bitcoin, $100, and Ethereum's up 3%. It's in a bull market, guys. It's, you had that ETF. We'll see what effect it had. But, I hear more and more guys embracing Bitcoin. So we'll see. All right. As far as the markets globally, they're basically just flat. FTSE's dead flat. The DAX is dead flat. France is dead flat. Nikkei is dead flat. China, flat. And the only one that moved 1% was Hong Kong, okay, which has had a pretty decent run this month. I think it's up like 8% for the month. Okay, so that's that. All right, so that's the recap. Fed, we have the Fed November taper. I think that's pretty much a sure thing. And we'll find out if Powell's going to get hired for another term. We'll see. Jury's out on that. Who knows? Okay, China. So these Chinese stocks have been strong, okay, and they're gaining EMA support, which is important. And I've been trading them from the long side. And quite frankly, with the exception of maybe high PE tech, they've been as good as they get, right, on the long side. I still don't trust the Chinese government. They're very communist, and they've proven that time and time again. But we'll see, okay? These stocks have crumbled, and now they're rallying back a little bit, okay? So, I mean, like BABA went from what? 340 to 140, and now it's 170. Good rally, but a vicious drop. So I think the point of least resistance for these stocks at the moment is up. Okay. Crypto, that ETF thing is the important thing. Oil, very strong bull market. We'll see what happens with that. The virus. So the White House is saying that they are going to try to vaccinate kids 5 through 11. No opinion on that either way. Every parent should have their own say about their kids to be. Well, whatever. Let's move on. The dollar we discussed. There was one other thing that came out that was important. What was it? Oh, the stimulus package that Biden's trying to put through. He's trying to get it at. He's now talking what? He was at $3.5 trillion. Now he's at $2 trillion, and I still think that's not doable. I think the number is going to be between 1.5. Okay, so that's what I'm thinking in that respect. But we'll see. I mean, we're so awash in liquidity. If you listen to Paul Tudor Jones, and then you couple that with a administration that wants to put through another $2 trillion of liquidity, it kind of gets a little scary. They took free community college out of it. That's probably the one thing they should keep in it. But whatever. Okay, so what do we have? We have Paul Tudor Jones on TV. The guy's a stud. All right, very smart, very forward thinking. When he talks, you put your pen down, or you put you take your mind off the screen and just listen to what the guy has to say. And what he has to say is pretty, different than what I've heard. Like you had Rick Reeder on TV yesterday that said rates are going to stay at this level and things are pretty good. And inflation, he thinks this is kind of sort of the top for the 10-year for the time being. Seeing a lot of buy interest, likes equities, sees them up 8 to 10% from here, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, Rick Reed is a really smart dude. Okay, and then you have Paul Tudor Jones, another really smart dude, completely different. Okay, inflation is not transitory. It's here to stay. It's the biggest threat to financial markets and society in general. 5.4 CPI is the highest in 30 years, and it's going to go higher as energy feeds through the economy, in upcoming CPIs. $5.4 trillion added since in M2 since the pandemic, 3.5% of it, 3.5 trillion because of the pandemic. It's creating liquidity, it's creating inflation. They also raise Social Security rates. You have wage inflation, Fed inflation creators, not inflation fighters. Most inappropriate monetary policy in my lifetime. He is a little worried, okay, at the very least. And he said, if inflation goes up, PEs go down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, like that. Okay, that's important stuff. When these guys speak, you don't react, you kind of put it in the back of your head and you wait for the market to tell you if he's right or not. At this point in time, I would say the market is saying, no, you're not right. The market is kind of in Rick Reeder's camp, but you have to hear all these guys come and then form your own opinion. all right? Or if you see stock action, which is the most important thing, change, and the charts change, well, then you have to change. Like, look, I hated Chinese stocks, but China stocks, but the fact of the matter is they act well, and I think they're going high, okay? You know, you can have whatever opinion you want, but at the end of the day, the only opinion that matters are these charts and what they tell you about stocks, okay? Don't get stuck with an opinion that's wrong, okay? You have to play the point of least resistance, period, end of story. All right, and that's that. Mr. Market yesterday, you know, they gapped them up a little bit and they kind of meandered in those levels. Most of the day you had cyclicals, high PE tech and Bitcoin was strong. And on the shorter side, you had airlines, cruise lines, and retail. Okay. That's that. What else do we have today? We had numbers. LAD was good, Winnebago, BIIB, and UAL. I think these airlines act like crap. And we'll see how they do today after opening higher. My guess is probably a fade. So that's what I'm thinking of doing here. I'll watch how UAL reacts, but my gut reaction is, look, the point of least resistance is down and I want to play it that way. Same with the cruise lines. So what else came out? LMDX had positive COVID news, SESN, some FDA meeting, LGO operations update was good. And on the short side, you had EAT, which I think is really important. Okay, I think this basically tells you guys that even if people come back to restaurants with wage pressure and food pressure, they can't make money. And the charts are bearing me out. They look like crap. Okay, so I think this is an area where I want to be short. Okay, so that's restaurants. And these guys are not passing these inflation, you know, onto consumers. You see Procter is raising prices. If Procter's raising prices, guys, so will Colgate, so will Church and Dwight, so will Kimberly Clark, etc., Clorox, you name it, they'll all raise prices. Okay, for sure. All right, so we're gonna have, you know, prices in, you know, basic foodstuffs that we use every day. And with the price of oil and all that other stuff, I'm not sanguine on the retailers, because like I always say, when those kind of things go up, people are going to stop going to retail. So that's my sense on that. Okay, so that's that. So the EAT, what else was crappy? BKR wasn't so good. ASML, no. Netflix, I don't think this is that bad actually. Most of the analysts are positive on the stock. That's it. Tonight we have CSX, DFS, Hewlett, IBM, Lam, Las Vegas Sands, THC, Tesla. Never realized THC. Okay. And Thursday before the opening, we have the Dog of Dogs telephone reports. We have AutoNation, Dow Chemical, Nucor, Love, UNP, and Valero, and FCX, and Dow, and Crocs. And I think Tesla, when's Tesla tonight? Okay, so we have a lot of earnings, and next week there's going to be a flood of them, okay? Research-wise, what do we have here? Not a whole lot. ASND, downgrade to neutral. I think it's a non-call. What is this? LCDG. So someone downgraded these solar names. I forget who it was. Let me see. Guggenheim, right? Guggenheim. So they downgraded them all. Fully valued, risk to consensus, array, FSLR, SEDG. No targets in any of these, but they downgraded those. The other downgrade of importance was out of Mizuho, weakening iPhone sales in China, tougher conditions, and they downgraded QRVO by the neutral. They downgraded MU. They don't like this DRAM business that much, memory chips. They downgraded Western Digital. Target goes in Western Digital from 92 to 62. So you gotta say, is this analyst any good? Micron 90 to 75, Cuervo 220 to 175. And they lowered their target in Qualcomm as well, but reiterate the buy. Okay, so that was the two thematic calls on the short side. Citibank doesn't believe in this spinning off e-commerce at letter M. I know the guy pushing this very well. He's an old partner of mine. He's very smart at Jana. He's tough. He's a tough dude. So I would imagine this thing is far from over. What else? And Jeffries downgraded a few of the mining stocks, Valero, Rio, and BBL. You know what's really weird, guys? I was looking at these rates this morning, and I was really shocked. I went to the bottom of the page, which I usually don't go to the very bottom. And did you know that Brazil 1-year interest rates are 9.6%? Can you imagine what a problem these guys have? Pretty amazing, isn't it? 9.6%. The rest of the world is like Germany's got negative rates, and these guys are at 9.6%. Doesn't say much for the future of the Brazilian currency. I think it's called the real, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that was a little surprising to me as well. On the long side, what do we have? Microsoft was probably the big call. I reiterate the buy. They take the target from 345 to 375. That's at Jeffries. Okay, by and large, everybody's bullish on Netflix. One guy downgraded it. I forget who it was. Oh, here it is, Deutsche Bank. But everybody else, buying opportunity, et cetera, et cetera. I think the high target I saw was 800 out of Wells Fargo. But by and large, everybody is pretty positive on it. QSI, that stock that Kathy's been buying, got an initiation with a buy target 13 at Adams Harkness. Chart not so good yet, but who knows? CYCN, this is a Truist, target 14, stocks 266, biotech. You know what I think about these biotech targets. Okay, initiate HGV at Goldman with a buy in 63 target. I told you guys I like this stock at, I think, $15. I mean, why Goldman Sachs now is getting high on it is just bewildering to me. Unless they didn't have an analyst for this group, which I guess is possible. People like Fifth Third. Ford got an upgrade out of from Credit Suisse. Significant turnaround, neutral to outperform, target 15 to 20. I like the name. Yeah, Stevens reiterates, eat it, outperform. Dope. Dope, 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 and more dope. That's, I think, it. Now, target goes from 700 to 800 at Bank of America. That's really it, I think. Yeah. Okay, that's the crux of it. What else do we have? Syndicate, there's 3 IPOs today, all from third-tier firms. Think did one, Aegis did one, and Riley. The Riley one is the best of the 3 because Bitcoin mining, and Bitcoin is in favor right now. Symbol SDIG, and it's priced above the range. So the other 2, who knows? They're probably, I don't know. No opinion. Think and Argus, no thank you. In fact, Aegis, not Argus. What else is there today? So if Paul Tudor Jones is right, let's say, for argument's sake, what don't you own? You don't own fixed income for sure. You will get your clock cleaned. Okay. Crypto would probably be a good place to go. Okay. Gold should work on the long side if he's right. And equities are better than bonds, but if you have strong inflation, PE ratios are going to go down, right? So you got to be a little careful. Average PE ratios would go down. So there you have it. It wouldn't be a great investment scenario. Okay. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay. Let's see what else. Market-wise, my thoughts. We've had a really great run. I'm thinking restaurants on the short side. I'm thinking these commodity names like steel and Cliff, they feel a little tired to me. I think Bitcoin's in a good spot on the long side. I think China's on a good spot on the long side. I think these high PE techs kind of sort of need a rest. And banks, I'm not keen on those with the yield curve as flat as it is. Citibank acts absolutely terrible. And the charts are okay, but they've had a really good run, I guess, expecting more inflation, and they're kind of laboring at these levels. So the markets are really flat. When you see a flat market like this, guys, you have to pick individual stocks to trade. It's easier. All right. And you can't play the overall macro concept because there's not going to be enough movement. So be a little careful with over trading in that type of environment. You think we get follow through in pot names? Yeah, Ardern, I'm kind of keen on pot names. I spoke to a buddy of mine who runs the biggest trading firm. And, you know, he's my best friend, actually. And we were chatting, and he sees his guys getting long pot stocks. I think, you know, I think states are so pressed for dough that they have to rush these things through. And I think that this is a good place to be. But I like the American companies much better than the Tilrays of the world. Okay, I think Tilrays are just a terrible company. I don't think CGC is much better. I think the names to own are the ones I've always preached, which would be like the CURLF, GTBIF, TCNNF, you know, Transcend, Green Thumb, those names. Okay, but I do like them. IIPR, yeah, I think that's a good one too, Joe. I have to look into it though. And listen, I'm out of time, so I'm going to give it to Spartan. And let's see what happens, okay? Opinions are just that. The market will change my opinion as soon as it opens if things don't go kind of like my game plan. So